And we are finally back. We had like a week off to do some background work for Duke's Apocalypse Kitchen. I don't know if you noticed a little something going on. I don't know.
Those shirts look awesome.
They're really cool, and they're very comfy, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying mine. You could enjoy yours too. Just saying.
And you also had a 50th birthday. I'm just saying.
There was that. There was that. We had to do a little bit of celebrating some things. It was nice. For my 1,000 Facebook friends out there, if you received a message from me last night, including a video, don't click on that shit. It's broke. No, it'll do all kinds of terrible things to your account like it did mine. Not fun.
You got hacked.
Yeah, I got hacked. Just skip right over that. Wasn't me.
But now we're gonna have some comfort results.
Yeah, we're gonna make some buttermilk biscuits, and I'm gonna put my face in that bowl.
Okay, we're ready.
I'm relaxed. I really am. Buttermilk biscuits with actual buttermilk in them. If you don't have buttermilk, you can use sour cream, and you could use, what was the other thing I was thinking of? Yogurt, Greek yogurt. That's a great replacement for the buttermilk. That's what it was. And yesterday, I made chicken soup in the Instant Pot. It was one of the shows we did previous to this. So you can look up that recipe. I did it yesterday. It is sitting right here. I'm going to take some of our biscuit dough and drop it in here to make chicken and dumplings. So very excited about that. First thing we have to do is get our butter grated and put it into our flour.
Wait a minute, you're grating the butter?
Yes.
So you have it frozen?
Yeah, you put it in the freezer, you get your grater, and you shred it, and that way it stays nice and cold with least amount of handling with your hands.
I've never heard of that.
I'm actually going to move this burner over because the heat coming from the side is too hot for the butter.
So grated butter in your biscuits.
Yeah. So you want to incorporate the butter and the flour first before adding any of our other liquids to it, which is going to be the buttermilk. And you want to do it without warming it up with your hands. I used to mash it up with my hands at a couple of restaurants, and this is just an easier way of doing it. So we just give it a quick shred.
I feel like this is going to be another one of those magic tips.
There's a lot of great techniques, shortcuts in this. In this recipe. One of them is I'm working on a piece of parchment so that again I don't have to pick up the butter. I can just scoop it right into there on the parchment paper. My oven is preheated to 425 degrees.
And are you cooking the biscuits in the oven?
Yeah, making biscuits, and then we're doing chicken and dumplings in the pot.
I was going to say, I'm confused, obviously.
Two different things.
Oh, but I'm going to eat them both.
When you get down to the end...
Try not to grate your finger.
Yes, you can do it this way. See, another neat trick. Keep your knuckles out of the way. Whoops. And then when we get down to the end, these little bits can just get...
Just mash it up.
Yeah. Like, oh,
And so what do you have in that bowl? You have how much flour in that bowl?
2 cups.
2 cups of flour.
I'm using self-rising flour because I have it. If you don't have self-rising flour, you can use all-purpose flour. The difference is this one comes with the leavening agents, baking powder and baking soda, thoroughly mixed in. If you were to use all-purpose butter, you want to use all-purpose flour. You're using 2 cups of flour and then 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and you want to take, while it's dry, a spoon and mix it up like you're mixing a bowl of batter, but it's just the dry flour. You want to keep going around and around to help that baking powder get thoroughly incorporated in the flour. You don't want it to be all on one side.
Oh my gosh, look at the butter. I'm going to come in closer.
Isn't that cute?
That's like, I feel like that's a trick you can use in all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't like a tower of butter shavings?
Yeah.
I ask ya.
And then, poof, in it goes.
Ta-da.
Looks like cheese.
It does.
And then, because butter wants to melt so much, and we want to get this flour incorporated.
There's another little shred of butter on the other side. just on the other side of your cutting board towards me. Oh, don't lose the butter.
Yeah. Now we're gonna toss our flour in here, just like this. And if you didn't have all your ingredients ready, need a minute, or you think this got too warm, you put this bowl in the freezer again and make sure that that butter stays nice and cold. I'm gonna keep cranking on because mine's pretty cold. But if you feel like yours got a little warm, pop that whole bowl in the freezer for a couple minutes.
If you were wondering what was going on, I just had to straighten out the camera.
I'm on a boat.
I know. Everybody who's like drinking a beer with their stuff is like, wait a minute, what happened?
Very important stuff. Especially after the morning I had.
Yes. Start drinking early and often, as my friend Melissa likes to say.
Yes. Okay, this is going to be 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk, or the yogurt, or sour cream. That's what you choose to.
It's essentially got to be something that has like cultures in it.
Yes. I want to add 2 more dry things because I'm missing my dry things. Salt and sugar and a little bit of black pepper. That's 3 things. So it's about a teaspoon of salt. And mix that in. And I like about 2 teaspoons of sugar. It's totally optional. I think it brings out the creaminess of the buttermilk to add the sugar in there. And then I like cracked black pepper in my biscuits. These are all optional. Salt's really not optional if you want that one. There was a restaurant in Southfield called Morel's. It's not there anymore. Neither is that pepper. And they made black pepper biscuits that you got on every table. And they were so good. Every time I have biscuits, I have to have black pepper in them. For no reason other than that restaurant was magnificent.
And it's also a really nice and kind of unexpected addition to bread that you've kind of introduced me to. You often put pepper in savory breads.
Yeah. It's a really nice pop of flavor. Another thing you could put in here would be cheddar cheese. Chives would be really good. I have chives coming up in the backyard. But it's just me and my black pepper today.
And your soup is boiling really hard. Do you want it to boil that hard?
No, I want to turn it down.
I'm here to help you.
Thanks.
The non-cook. I'm the monitor, kind of the hall monitor of this cooking show.
Yeah. Okay, we're back to the buttermilk. I need 3/4 of a cup, so I'm going to put in 1. That was a half, and now that's the 3/4.
And you didn't sift the flour before you put it in?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that one. My mother always sifted her flour.
Well, flour from days gone by was a little bit different than today, and depending on how long you've had it sitting around in your house and in what kind of container, it was a good idea to sift. But we don't have all of those reasons to need to sift it nowadays.
That soup smells good.
Good. That's a great recipe. Just like dump and go in the Instant Pot. So this is looking a little dry. So now I'm going to add more buttermilk till I get it to be the consistency that I want.
And how would you characterize that consistency?
We're going for something like it's going to form a clump and pull away from the sides of the bowl.
Okay.
Without being soupy wet, not a shiny wet. You can use a wood spoon. I'm using a fork here. Making sure the buttermilk gets its way around. It's starting to clump, but it's not clumping together, so it needs a little more. So now we're at about almost 1 1/4 cups.
And I imagine that just kind of like depends on the weather, depends on everything else you
Depends
do.
on the thickness of your buttermilk too. This is really thick. It's Guernsey. It's my favorite. Guernsey's in Northville Dairy. It's been my favorite buttermilk to work with because of how thick it is. There's other brands out there that I've gotten at the market, and when I pour them in, they're super watery, more like a whole milk, and that would not take as much as this one. I would use less of it, just because of its texture.
May want to tune down your soup again.
That's because the lid is on it.
It's getting serious over there.
Just waiting for these. Almost.
So yeah, while you start with a certain amount of buttermilk, this is really then continue to do it based on not the amount, but on the consistency.
Right.
of
If
the
I
batter.
had said add, 1.5 cups of buttermilk, it might have made it way too watery, and then there's no pulling it back really from there. Without adding a lot more flour and then guessing your leavening agents. It's better just to add it a little bit at a time.
Well, if you're a cook like me, like doing it to consistency is challenging.
Yeah.
Like I would rather know like how much do I actually need?
Right. That would be nice. Okay, now we're gonna get this together and put it on the board. Now my mom always made drop biscuits, which is basically at this point I would take an ice cream scoop and put them on parchment on a sheet tray and then pop them in the oven with the egg wash, and I wouldn't be rolling them out. I'm gonna roll them out because that's how you get the layers. Some people really want the layers. That's how they say, what's a biscuit? What's a good biscuit? Lots of layers.
Oh yeah, kind of like any kind of light pastry.
Yeah. So, putting this out here, and it's still this crumbly kind of a mess. Get this out of your way. Now, all right. Rolling pin stuff on top.
I can see why people like to bake during the apocalypse.
Look at that.
Because it is very soothing, kind of.
See what I did there?
What did you do?
Instead of folding and causing this
Oh.
big powdery mess,
That makes total sense.
I'll do it again.
Because the layer is where the flakiness comes from.
Yeah. So cut it in half. Get the scoop under there. Set it on top. Now we roll. So we want to make sure we do that about 4 times.
Okay.
Rolling pin gets a little sticky. Just give it some flour.
You gonna be at this for a while? You want to fast forward?
You can go to speed time, fast forward, whatever
Right.
that thing's called.
We'll be back in a minute.
Time lapse. Okay, we are back. I got a sheet tray with some parchment on it. I like working on parchment. You would have to spray this if you were not going to use parchment. I have a round cutter. I'm going to make round biscuits, and then I'm going to use the in-between pieces to drop into the chicken soup for the dumplings. Otherwise, if I wanted zero waste, I would make square biscuits. And how we put them on the sheet tray is also a thing because they help each other rise if they're touching.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So this is for the baked biscuits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can see that they're about, I rolled them to about a little more than a half an inch thick. And you can see the layers in there. See that
I'll
one?
come in a little bit. Little air pockets.
Yep.
I don't know if my camera's focusing well, but.
So when we did that like 4 times, we made at least 8 layers in there. And then these parts I'm dropping into the chicken noodle.
I may be able to show you a little bit more.
See how we're gonna snug them up like this?
Yep.
They're gonna help each other rise. If your cutter gets a little sticky, just take some flour, your bench flour, and it'll
Sort it
itself out. Mischief will be managed. Not mine, but the biscuits. Mine's never managed. That's why
So
I'm
looking
here.
forward to
That's
it.
why you love me. Because I never managed that shit. It's better not managed. Especially today. All right. I want more dumplings, so I'm using this chunk over here too for the dumplings.
Okay.
I'm gonna pop these in the oven.
Tell me again how hot the oven is.
425. I took 1 egg, beat it with a fork, and I'm just gonna brush the tops. This gives a golden color and a little bit of shine. It's totally gratuitous. You don't have to do it if you don't wanna. Some people do heavy cream. Some people do butter with a little bit of salt and sugar when they come out of the oven. I like all these things.
All right.
15 minutes. In they go. I'm gonna take these scraps, I'm gonna drop them in here with the lid on, and they're gonna get all nice and bubbly.
And how long does it take that to happen?
Oh, these take like 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe 15 if your soup's not blazing hot like mine is right now.
All right.
All right, see you in a few. Bye. And we are back. Lots of things happened. We put the biscuits in the oven for the 15 minutes, took them out, and we did the soup, chicken, and dumplings. And we'll post a picture of that because we ate that already.
While we were away,
Yes.
we ate some really amazing, delicious soup.
While I had a very angsty teenager taking a final in the other room, we all had to be super silent. Oh my God, Mom, will you be quiet for 59 minutes? I'm like, I can't guarantee I'll be quiet for 59 minutes. She's like, I need you to. So we were gone for a little bit, so these aren't hot anymore, but I did take them out of the oven after 15 minutes, and look at our layers.
We're gonna come in close and hope that it closes up. And oh man, I did have one of these hot.
Yeah.
As we were sitting here in silence.
Yeah.
And it was really flaky and delicious.
They're
so.
very, very good. And these have a nice little toasty sweetness to them. The dumplings were obviously a little softer, but very poofy because that self-rising flour with the baking powder really makes them poof, even in a broth. It's super lovely.
I could testify that it was all delicious.
Yes, give it a shot. Okay, we're back. We're back at it. See you this week with some really great things coming up. And thanks for joining me today. Bye.